automatic multipurposing during production. This is very important also in connection with the mentioned hybrid broadcast broadband and web TV applications. And again, genre recognition for recommending system or automatic management of user-generated content. These are just some examples of application that could be could get benefit from this kind of applications. Then this is just a slide to leave an idea on about how could be an architecture based on automated information extraction. The yellow part is the video analysis part, the blue part is the audio analysis part. Then in the center we have got data analysis and fusion. That is a very important block since elaborates contribution coming from video and from audio. And then on the green side we have got the applications. This is let's say an ideal architecture that have been set up as a reference for EBU members to help them understand what does it mean to have automated information extraction architectures. Then the next one. So this is just an example of an application that we have got in RAI that is an example of a mashup of the different kind of technologies from the web and from television, all based on automatic information extraction on an unsupervised architecture. Then the next one, please. This is just the architecture in more simple terms. There is program detection, segmentation, and indexing on one side, and linguistic analysis and query construction on the other side. And this allows us in a completely automatic way to provide multimodal services to the final user. Then the next one. Okay, so this is an overview of the tasks. The most important is the construction of the reference material library. That is now more than 164 hours of material that can be used from any part of the world to perform experimentation. And the next one, please. The definition of an MPEG-7 profile, that is very important to collect data coming from different experimentation laboratories. We also define a request for technology document, gathering some user requirements for, in general, all the applications that can be based on automatic information extraction, specifically speech-to-text, copy and repetition detection, content summarization. This is the next slide, please. And for each application, we provided definition requirements and evaluation parameters and so on. Then the next one. Okay, this is just a status of the reference material library, and for which we also need the ground truth annotation. That is a very important task, of course, for every automatic information extraction task. Then the next one. And we also set up a lot of informative and educational events, among which, of course, there is this speech, and also some webinars that we organize in the context of the EBU all over the year. And also the IM Pro workshop that this year hopefully will be in connection with ACM Multimedia 2010. We are still waiting for their response, to tell the truth. And then finally, the last slide. The conclusion is that the world of media is moving fast, so new markets and new trends, a lot more content items to be managed. So indexing and integrating, these are the two keywords for us, is an efficient way, is a crucial functionality for the next future. Automation can be seen as a help in reducing the related costs. Research is active, of course, from several years, and we have to study a lot of state-of-the-art. And the future is, in one single line, make metadata cheaper and quicker. Thank you.
Good, perfect, Alberto. That was great. And I think I'm just picking on your last sentence. Making metadata cheaper and quicker, I think covers some of the things that we want to discuss today. So do we want to talk about a bit, metadata generation and its relation a bit with the standards? So Dave, I don't know if you want to comment more about that and maybe mention some of the 80s efforts.
Sure, Andrea. I'm very interested and happy that this effort is going on in EBU, because it's a valuable effort for the community. There's a lot of work involved with annotating data. There's been research groups, focusing on metadata extraction for some time, and some standards have been developed, MPEG-7 to support some of this, but really defining a profile and narrowing the scope down to the practical metadata extraction methods that were presented here, I think is a big service, and I think it's going to really push things forward for the research groups.
Yeah, so talking about the complexity, and this is a question open to all the panelists, the complexity of metadata generation and automatic versus manual professional generation of metadata, and also the user generated metadata. So do you want to comment a bit about that? I know Dave is very active in content indexing, so definitely is an expert in this area. Alberto also, and Paolo, it's a user, in fact, of this metadata in a service-oriented architecture. So, let's see, what do you think about, for example, professionally generated metadata versus user-generated metadata, which is the use that we can make of metadata that generated, on YouTube or on Flickr or systems like this?
Yep. My opinion is that there are two different, let's say, radically different kind of data, in the sense that professional data could be considered as authoritative in a certain sense, and that are connected to a certain point of view that is typically that of the producer of the content. On the other side, user-generated metadata are the ones that are capable of stressing on the latent semantics of the content. That is, in a sense, much more important in some applications. So both contributions have to be considered and have to be taken into account for successful applications.
Dave?
Of course, one problem that we see in this with user tagging and kind of ad hoc systems is that you get a lot of noise in the data as well. You get inconsistencies in the tagging, for example, that we have to deal with. And I agree that there's a lot of value in that information, but it's a matter of separating out some of the noise or the error in the metadata tagging and getting to that valuable information as well.
I agree with David. It's very important today for enterprise companies, especially new media, to somehow leverage all this user-generated content metadata. But on the other hand, it's important also to somehow distinguish between the trusted professionally generated metadata and the one coming from users. Even if it is possible, as I'll discuss a little bit later, to somehow integrate this metadata all together in some kind of process that can somehow distinguish between the two types of metadata and somehow leverage both.
Okay, that I think makes the point. I believe that user-generated metadata is an important component, and we definitely need to make use of that. And we're still at the very beginning on how we we can make efficient use of that noisy data, but still valuable. Another topic that I wanted to touch is really the standards. And for this, I leave the floor to Dave, that can give a sense on what is happening in a specific domain, in ATIS for IPTV applications. What are the IPTV needs for metadata today, and what ATIS is doing?
Okay, thank you, Andrea. I'm representing AT&T in the Alliance for Telecommunications Industry Solutions, which is pretty much a North American focused standards effort, and also in the telco industry. However, the standards aren't really limited to the United States or North America, and there's a lot of participation from vendors, television manufacturers as well, for example, in different locations. And the hope is to create a set of standards, in particular and for IPTV, that promote interoperability. And one of the task is how do you define IPTV? It's